students. It's good to be here with you again this beautiful week. And I want to wish you well this week and say enjoy the rest of the week ahead. Last week, I was here with you on GNS204, Introduction to Entrepreneurship Skills. And I recalled that I mentioned to us all that we will be talking about crop production enterprise, livestock production enterprises, shoe and sandal production enterprises, tie and dye production enterprise, electrical and electronics aspect of it to be handled by students of the College of Engineering and Environmental Sciences, Ibogun campus. I remember that I mentioned that we will be talking about Fadama and horticulture enterprises. And I said that all of this will be rounded off with practicals on those enterprises. Specifically, our practicals will be centered around shoe and sandal making, crop production enterprise, as well as tie and dye production enterprise. Also, I remember that I treated us. We all went through what agriculture is, the 5 main rules of agriculture, as discussed by me, we discussed them, and we said essentially the major rule of agriculture is the provision of food, which is the most essential. Others include provision of raw materials for agro-allied industries, provision of employment. What we say, it aids in employment generation, because in agriculture, about 75% of the Nigerian population actually are occupied in agricultural production ventures. Also, we say that agriculture is a source of income generation, while it is also a source of foreign exchange earner. We have said all this. We said, okay, let us look at the principles of crop production. And the principles of crop production are specifically highlights the steps that are followed in the production of crops. We actually asked, what are crops? We asked, and we said crops are plants that have been domesticated over the years and are produced for human consumption as well as for animal and industrial purposes. Having said all this, we went into those principles in 3 different categories. The first being pre-planting operations, that is operations that are involved in agriculture. We say pre-planting operations are operations that are carried out before actual planting on the field. And these include the following: choice of site, clearing of the site, that is land clearing. After land clearing, we mentioned that we will be doing what is called stumping. And we said stumping is the removal of leftover of trees, stumps of trees that cannot be completely taken off the field through the use of felling machines that we have to stomp them, removal of stumps and roots, such that if mechanical operation will follow, it becomes easier to do so. Our students, I also remember that I mentioned that beyond pre-planting operations that I listed or above, choice of site or site selection, site or land clearing, stumping, burning of trash if necessary. It may not be necessary, but you may burn trash. Whatever you have weeded off, that you have cleared and you have kept in a particular section of the field, you may decide to say, I want to burn them off. After which, then plow in. That is, you plow using the disc plow. Plowing with setting. Plowing is the use of machine to invert. When you invert, you turn it upside down to invert the soil layer so that the part that is up is turned down and the part that is down is up. Okay, after which you leave it for 2 weeks, then you do second plowing if you want to do. Then the third plowing, the third activity there is harrowing. Harrowing. You may want to harrow the field. Please don't forget that I mentioned earlier that this course will be treated as a practical course, and that is precisely what we will be doing, so that when you finish from this university, you have the opportunity to become a farmer, to go into farming activities. Are we here? And that is precisely what we will be doing today, just as we did last week. After that pre-planting operation, then you have planting operation in itself. I should remind us here that you must have gone through these in your 100 level days. In your 100 level course, the one you call Introduction to Nigerian Agriculture, under Modern Agriculture and Rural Development, that textbook will have spelled out in clear terms what you will be doing in terms of land preparation, that is before operation, planting operation in itself. Planting operation that will involve, the first thing it will involve is your planting material. Getting good stock of planting material that are very, very good, that when you plant them, you can ensure, it ensures that you have a very good field. That is, what will germinate will be vigorous seeds that can withstand and resist pests and diseases, and seeds that can come to early maturity, and seeds that will give you the quantity that will bring the desired income and or revenue, as the case might be. This said, the following comes under planting operations. The first one is the planting material. The second one is the seed rate. The seed rate is the measure of the amount or quantity of seeds that is required to plant a specific area of land. For instance, if you are planting maize, you require about 15 to 20 kilograms of maize seed to plant 1 hectare. Don't forget that I mentioned earlier that 1 hectare of land is 100 meters by 100 meters, what is also known as 10,000 meters squared. I remember that in our first class, I also told us that in 1 hectare of land, you have 2.5 acres. Acres is ACRES. Hectare is HECTARES. So if you are talking of hectare, 1 hectare is equal to 2.5 acres. And it is also 1 hectare, it is also equal to 15 standard plots of land at 120 feet by 120 feet. length times breadth. So, in essence, what we are trying to say is that 1 hectare of land is equivalent of 2.5 acres of land, while 1 acre of land is 4,000 meters squared. 1 hectare of land is 10,000 meters squared. Then we have said it. I've just mentioned about seed rate. After seed rate, now you know the quantity of seed that you need. You know that you need good planting material. The next thing to do is to determine your planting pattern. And planting pattern is the arrangement of the crop on the field. At planting, are you drilling? Are you planting a stake? When you plant a stake, you are planting a definite space along the line and in between the ridges. That said, the next one is planting depth. The planting depth is a measure of the depth to which your seed must be planted, and this is important because if you plant them too deep, germination of seed becomes difficult. For maize, you need to plant at 5 centimeter into the soil, 5 centimeter depth into the soil. Helps if you don't do that to come up. Sprouting, sprouting. Sprouting is the emergence of the seed from the soil. Sprouting becomes difficult because the seed will have to struggle to get out of the depth to which you have planted. Are we there? So you must be wary of your planting depth. Apart from these 1, 2, then actual planting is done. And you must also know that during planting, what is important is the spacing adopted. Spacing is the actual area of the distance between one seed and the other and another seed on the field under which it will exploit its nutrient and water needs. For instance, in maize, we say maize is 60 by 90. That is along the line 60 centimeters. Between the lines or between the ridges is 90 centimeters. You can actually reduce to 75 centimeters if you want much more population. The next thing to do there will be that you then reduce the number of seeds per hole. Instead of planting 2 seeds per hole, you may then plant 1 seed per hole. Or you may say, okay, instead of planting 3 seeds per hole, you may then say, I want to plant 2 seeds per hole. Are we there? The next principle, the last principle that we talked about last week was the one that spoke about post-planting operations, which we treated as well, which included after planting, the next thing is germination or sprouting. When it germinates, then if during planting you have put too much seed in a hole, the next thing to do is to do what is called thinning. Thinning, Thinning. You thin out. When you thin out, you reduce the plant population to the required or the expected number per stand. Where you see 4 and the specification is 2 seeds per hole, you remove the 2 weak ones and leave the 2 vigorous ones, leaving it at 2 seeds per hole. That's precisely what we are trying to say when we say we are thinning. I hope you understand this. Then beyond this thinning, after thinning in post-planting operation, post-planting, that is operation that are carried out after planting of your seeds. After thinning, the next one is again supplying. Supplying and thinning goes hand in hand. Where you supply is a case where many of your seeds refuse to germinate. Supplying is the replanting of dead seeds or ungerminated seeds in a stand. For instance, You get to see some stands that didn't germinate, then you resupply. You supply seedlings, you supply the seeds so that you can have optimum plant population. Are we there? Now, having said that, the next one after thinning and supplying is mulching, pre-planting operation mulching. And this is the use of organic or inorganic substances to cover the soil surfaces or to protect your seed or seedlings so that it does not lose moisture. It does not lose moisture. However, it should be noted that if you use organic materials, that is dead trees, dead leaves, dead grasses and legumes that have been cut as your mulch material, they also serve as source of organic manure to the soil, because when they decay, after decaying, what you call putrefaction, after decaying, they decay and add manure to the soil. So that is the purpose of mulching. Then beyond mulching, after mulching, the next one that we should be talking about is weeding. All this fall under weeding. This can be done. Weeding is the removal of unwanted plants on the field so that they do not compete with the actual crops planted. They do not compete with the actual crops planted for nutrients, for water, for air, and sunlight. So when you weed, you will have taken care of those weeds that are unwanted, and you will have allowed your plant to have enough access to water, what is called moisture, to water, to air, to nutrients, and sunlight. Also, apart from weeding, the next one, weeding, please note, weeding can be done mechanically through the use of machines, and you apply herbicides, you apply inorganic substances that can take care of the weeds and leave your crop on the field. Beyond that, there are other things that we can do. We can do our weeding manually through the use of hose and cutlasses, and that is called manual weeding. Are we there? Beyond this, the next one after weeding is fertilizer application. Fertilizer application. We apply fertilizer. What are fertilizers? Fertilizers are substances which, when added to the soil, add nutrients back to the soil, and it can be organic or inorganic. When it is organic, they are dead plant and animal remnants or remains that are added to the soil. Upon their decomposition, they return nutrients back to the soil. When they are inorganic, they are chemical substances that have been compounded in such a way that they give back to the soil specific nutrient deficiency of that soil. Example is the inorganic fertilizer, okay, which can be in granular form. Some of them can be in liquid form as well. When they are in granular form, they are in fragments that you can hold them and put them beside your crops in such a way that they do not come in contact with the crops so as not to scorch them. When you say not to scorch, scorching is SCORCHING. And this is when chemical substances get in contact with our crops and burn them. They burn. You see that they will burn them because they are chemical substances. They burn them. So you keep them away, minimum of 15 centimeters or what you call 6 inches away from your plant. That is precisely what we do. We are saying all this because as practical farmers, you must know that your crops and the inorganic fertilizer must not be in contact, else scorching or burning of the crop will occur. After, please don't forget that we are on post-planting operation, and I've mentioned thinning, I've mentioned supplying, I've mentioned manuring or fertilizer application. Now we are on herbicide, we are on fertilizer application. And I've said fertilizers are organic or inorganic substances that are added to the soil to return nutrient back to the soil. And we said when it is organic, they are from plant and animal remains, okay, which are allowed to decompose and add nutrient back to the soil. When they are inorganic, I said they are chemical substances that are specific. They provide specific nutrient deficiency to the soil. Are we there? Now, having said that, another one is another operation that is done as post-planting is irrigation. Irrigation is the artificial supply of water. Irrigation, it is the artificial supply of water to your farm so that the crops planted can grow optimally and produce good yield. And irrigation is mostly done during the dry season when there are few rains or there are no rains at all. Are we there? Irrigation. You can do irrigation manually through the use of watering can. Watering can. Yes, there are some things that you call watering can. Okay, it has a sprinkler, what you call the sprout, S-P-R-O-U-T. It has a sprout, okay, that is the sprinkler. Water is put into it, and the farmer manually does this, okay, on the field. However, irrigation can also be done mechanically. It can be done mechanically through the use of sprinklers that are mounted on the field and pipes that are laid on the field. When it is mechanically done, it is usually done for large hectares of land. Are we there? So as a potential farmer, you want to be a dry season farmer, then you'll be thinking of irrigation. After irrigation, as post-planting operation, the next one is harvesting and storage. Harvesting is done when the farmer says that the plants that have been put on the field have reached their normal growing limits on the field. And a number of factors can be used to determine maturity. For instance, when they change color, if you have fruits on the field, let me give you a case of mango now. Mango naturally, before they get matured, the back is green. The back is green. So when they start turning yellow, then you know that it has gotten to maturity stage. Or, also for some crops. For instance, cowpea, when the pods fill up, the pods are already filled up. Yeah, when the pods filled up, and then you take one and you open the pod and you see the extent of growth there, you begin to know this is mature, then you don't allow them to overstay on the field. Because when they overstay on the field, losses may set in as well for the farmer. The farmer may start experiencing losses. So before today we are talking about harvesting, then storage. Storage is the safekeeping of our farm produce in the store so that they are disposed or they are sold when they command very good market price. It should be noted that your store should be such that it is not porous to rats or pests that will go and destroy your produce in store. Today, we have gone through what we did last week, giving you that preambles, then sets today's tone for arable crops production. What are arable crops? Cultivated arable crops are classified in many ways, and although There is no standard system. All methods are fairly well understood and used in crop science. Arable crops are crops that when farmers grow them, they stay on the field for a short period of time, usually as from 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, not beyond a year and a half in some cases. Those are arable crops, crops that they have a shorter duration. When they are grown, they have a shorter duration of life on the field. Examples of these are cereal crops. Most of the cereal crops, they don't live more than 4 months at the maximum. Examples of which include maize, rice, sorghum, millet, rye, oats, wheat. All of those are cereals. And what are cereals? Cereals are grain crops. Grain crops. Grain. Grain. Cereals are grain crops. Cereals are grain crops that when they are cultivated, they live for shorter period of time on the field, after which they are harvested, and that is the end of that cycle. So we will then classify cereal crops according, because they have different classifications. We classify them according to duration of growth. According to duration of growth, I've just told that they have shorter period of growth on the field. So when you're talking of according to duration, classification of cereals, classification of arable crops, classification of arable crops according to duration of growth. We have one, annuals. Annuals. They are called annual arable crops. The other ones are biennials. There are some that could be arable crops because you harvest them every year, and yet they can stay on the field for a longer period of time. Example of that is the one that is called pigeon pea. Pigeon, P-I-G-E-O-N, P-E-A, pigeon pea. The one that is botanically called Cajanus, C-A-J-A-N-U-S, underline it, Cajan, C-A-J-A-N, underline it, that is Cajanus, pigeon pea. You plant it, you can be taking your fruits every year, although it can be on the field for as long as 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. In some cases, it can go beyond 10 years. Having said this, we have said we have annual arable crops, we have biennials, we have perennials, and this depends on their life cycle. Are we there? Annuals. Annual arable crops. These are crops which survive for only one season, just one season. They germinate, grow to maturity, flower, produce seed, and die within 1 year. Usually 3 months for maize. Maize, not more than 3 months, 90 days. Most fruit crops are annuals, but a few exports or industrial crops also fall into this category. Examples under these annuals are maize, wheat, barley, rice, millet, sorghum, cowpea, groundnut, yam, and of course, most of the vegetables that we consume. Most of the vegetables that we consume, they fall under these annuals. The second classification, according to growth pattern, is biennials. Biennials, B-I-E-N-N-I-A-L-S, biennials. And crops under biennials are those which require 2 seasons of growth. 2 seasons of growth to reach maturity. It should be noted that vegetative growth Yeah, they grow vegetatively. The leaves, the stem, the branches, if there are branches. Vegetative growth takes place during the first year, while growth in the second year is mainly concerned with manufacture and storage of food, which could be carbohydrates, it could be protein, and so on and so forth. Storage of food, flowering, and fruiting. Examples here are cassava, but I should let you know that of recent there are cassava varieties that can be grown and harvested within 1 year. Yes, within 1 year. There are some that are as fast as being harvested within 7 months of planting, or at most, say 9 months of planting. The recent varieties are that very fast. They are fast, early maturing. They are called early maturing varieties. Examples are cassava, cocoyam, which grows in most part of West Africa. The perennials, I mentioned perennials. Say, don't forget that we are still on classification according to growth. Perennials, these are crops. These are arable crops which live for more than 2 growing seasons on the field. Most perennials produce only vegetative growth during the first year, and their flowering does not occur until the vegetative phase. Their flowering does not occur until the vegetative phase. Are you with me? Until the vegetative phase of growth has reached maturity. Once perennials begin to flower, they produce flowers each season. Each seasons. And I mentioned to us the other time of the um, perennial arable that are perennial in nature. Okay, example of which I mentioned pigeon pea, and this pigeon pea in Yoruba language is called otili. They are tiny, but they have a lot of nutritional value because they produce high amount of iron, which is a precursor to blood formation in the body system. So that pigeon pea, when you plant it and it starts fruiting, after a while, it will continue to produce fruits for the next 10-15 years if you don't cut them off. And that's why they're called perennial arable crops. Are we there? Then we go to classification of arable crops according to uses. Classification according to uses. And according to uses, arable crops can be grouped as follows. The first one is cereal crops. Cereal crops. And when you say cereal, cereals, please, all that we are discussing, you may refer back to your 100 level at GNS105, such that it can become easier for you to understand when we say cereals. Are we there? Good. Now that we're saying, we said cereal crops. These belong to the family known as Gramineae. They belong to the family Gramineae, and they are cultivated mainly for their seeds. It is the seed of maize that you eat. You don't eat the corn cobs. Shuku. You don't eat it. It is the seed. It is the seed that is turned into akamu or pap. It is the seed that is milled by feed millers to feed their poultry beds or to feed their farm animals. So they belong to the family Gramineae and are cultivated mainly for their seeds. Cereals are by far the most important source of world food supply. Examples of these cereals are maize, rice, sorghum, millet, wheat, barley, rye. Rye is R-Y-E. I am sure many of you will have heard about rye. R-Y-E. It is not common in Nigeria, but it is grown in other parts of the world. The next one will be legumes or pulses. legumes, or pulses. They are commonly grown legumes which have ability to fix nitrogen back into the soil. And the edible parts of these legumes produce protein and oil. Produce protein and oil. Examples of these include cowpea, soya bean, groundnut, pigeon pea. I've mentioned pigeon pea, bambara nut, bambara, B-A-M-B-A-R-A, bambara nut, and lima bean. Lima is L-I-M-A, lima bean. Also, we have some that is called sword bean, sword, S-W-O-R-D, sword bean. All of these are protein fruits. Their fruits supply protein to the body and as well supply oil, except for cowpea. Except for cowpea. All others, except for cowpea, pigeon pea as well, all others yield oil as well. They have high amount of protein and they yield oil. Example is soya bean, groundnut, and apart from groundnut, bambara nut, and lima bean. The next one, don't forget that we have done 2 classifications now according to uses. The third classification is roots crops, root and tuber crops. These are crops which roots are produced and are stored underground, and they store high amount of carbohydrates which is consumed by man and animals. Example of these crops include cassava, yam, sweet potato, Irish potato, and so on and so forth. Those are root and tuber crops. The next one is fruit crops. Number 5, fruit crops. Fruit, F-R-U-I-T, fruit crops. Are we there? These are crops which fruits are consumed directly. These crops supply mineral salts and vitamins to human body, and they are very, very essential. Example of crops classified under fruit crops include banana, pawpaw, pineapple, avocado pear, citrus. When we say citrus, we are talking of all types of oranges, whether sweet orange, sour orange, tangerine, tangelo, shaddock, lime, and lemon. All of those are citrus. Then the next one is plantain, guava, apples, etc. Last of this classification according to uses is the one that we call spices. When we say spices, spices are crops which provide flavor. They provide flavor or add taste to food. Many also have medicinal properties. Important crops in this category are ginger, pepper, garlic, and onion. They also are grown by small-scale farmers for both local and export benefits. Don't forget what I said. I said spices are crops which provide flavor and add taste to food when prepared as well. And I said many also have medicinal properties. Yes. And I said examples of these are ginger, pepper, garlic, and onion. Also, we are still on classification according to uses. We have some of them that are called oil crops. These are crops which produce oil, and they are excellent fat and vitamin sources. Oil crops are crops which produce oil,
and they are also excellent fat and vitamin sources. Examples include groundnut, melon, sunflower, coconut, castor, and sesame. The next is fiber crops. Fiber crops. What are fiber crops? These are crops grown and used for making clothing for human beings and for industrial purposes. They are also used they are also processed into ropes, carpets, and cotton materials. Examples of these include cotton, jute, sisal M. Last one is vegetable crops. Vegetable crops are crops which leaves or fruits are consumed and provide mineral salt and vitamins. Example here is tomato, onion, okra, amaranthus, celosia, solanum, and the likes. When you say amaranthus, it is the one you call green vegetable. When you say onion, I'm sure many of us know onion. When you say celosia, we are talking of the one in Yoruba language that is called shoko. I have for you the spacing that is adopted for each of these crops. I also have for you the quantity of planting material that you need to plant an area of land, and this will be uploaded in due course. The yields too, we are going to upload this for your reading purpose and for examination purpose, such that you are abreast of some of this information. We go to fruit crops production.
Fruit crops production, and when we say what are fruit crops? Fruit crops are trees and or shrubs planted by farmers primarily for their edible fruits. They are planted by farmers primarily for their edible fruits. Are we there? They are planted by farmers primarily for their edible fruits. Fruit trees have high potentials to improve productivity and sustainability of agroforestry system in Nigeria by addressing the issues of food security, income, and environmental protection. Students, I want us to put down list of some of our fruit crops that are of very huge economic potentials in Nigeria. Number one is mango, the one you call Mangifera indica. Number two is cashew, Anacardium occidentalis. Number three is pawpaw. I said pawpaw, P-A-W-P-A-W, pawpaw. Carica papaya. The other one is guava, Psidium guajava. We also have coconut, Cocos nucifera. We also have grapefruit, Citrus paradisi. We have sweet orange, Citrus sinensis. We have shea butter, Vitellaria paradosum. We have bitter cola, Urubu, the one you call Garcinia cola. We also have star apple, Schizophyllum albidium. Star apple, Agbalumo lunjebe, Agbalumo, Schizophyllum albidium. Now, all of these have very huge economic importance. And I should let you know that
What we are training you for is for you to become agripreneurs. Yeah, have interest in agriculture. Upon your graduation from this university, you want to start your own farm. And I recall that I said it in my first class, that the government of this country gives us the opportunity as farmers that apart from being civil servants, you can also be involved in agricultural activities without anybody sanctioning or disturbing you. Tree crops, they are also known as permanent crops. Let us take this idea down. Tree crops are those crops that remain on the field for many more years, and they are therefore sometimes referred to as permanent crops. You can see that I said they remain on the field for many years, as from 3 years and above. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Some of them can be on the field for as many as 70 years. Example of which is the one you call oil palm. Oil palm. Yes, oil palm. Oil palm tree stays on the field for as long as 70 years if nothing disturbs it. And it will be producing fruits every year at commercial value, at commercial rate. Now, I want you to know and note carefully that it's a great opportunity for you at your younger ages now to be interested in oil palm. Are we there? You are interested in oil palm and then you want to establish oil palm field, and by the time you establish it now at your age, by the time you get in say 15 years time, you will not even work for government. I'll let you understand one thing now, that if you have just 1,500 stands of oil palm, then you can as well sit down and enjoy the rest of your life in wealth and prosperity. Because every year in, year out, is that 1,500 is giving you minimum of 15 bunches per tree. And that will be about 22,500 bunches every year. And if you have 22,500 bunches every year from your plantation, and it is giving you an average of 2 liters of oil per bunch, you can then say 22,500 by 2 liters. That's about 45,000 liters of oil every year. If going by the present rate of oil at 1,000 naira per liter, yes, 1,000 naira per liter, present rate, by 45,000, it then becomes 45 million. 45 million per annum is not a bad amount of money. Just say 45 million naira. Remove all expenses at 50%, and you have about 22.5 million every year. And that comes to about average of 2 million naira per month as your salary. Even the president of Nigeria, I'm not sure he's on 2 million naira per month. Now our students, can you now see that agriculture is the in thing in Nigeria? Agriculture is the leeway to prosperity and wealth. That said, have you ever thought of it? That Theobroma cacao, the one you call cocoa, if you plant cocoa and you have 1,000 seedlings of cocoa on your farm, that your annual income cannot be less, and I mean it with all sincerity, cannot be less than 25 million. Annual cannot be less than that. So you can then see that the opportunities are there for you to make huge amounts. Is that you can make huge amount of money if you invest in agriculture. Are we there? Now let us take this further. Tree crops provide food for man and his domestic animals. Man obtains vegetable oil from oil palm trees and cashew. Beverage is obtained from cocoa, coffee, and tea. Chocolate is obtained from cocoa and cola. Juices from citrus and cashew. Wine from oil palm, cocoa, and cola. Oils are also obtained from palm kernel cake. From palm kernel, and palm kernel cake is also obtained too, which can feed animals. Are we there? Then we classify our classification of tree crops. Several methods are used to classify tree crops based on their commercial importance. We have those that are classified as beverage or stimulant crops. These are crops used in preparing food, drinks, and examples are cocoa, coffee, cola, etc. Oil crops. The next one, after beverage or stimulant crops, oil crops are crops that produce oil. Examples here are oil palm, cashew, coconut, shea butter, tree, etc. We also have latex producing crops. Latex producing crops. And the latex producing crops, we have rubber tree. Rubber tree. When you go through the download online, you will see our groupings. We have done propagation methods of permanent crops. The part that is needed to propagate them, we have done those things. So you will please find them. You will please find them on the portal because they are going to be uploaded for your consumption. At this juncture, I want to thank you for paying attention and for listening. And I also will let you know that as a follow-up to my first class, where I told us of what we are going to do, we are expected to, based on our different faculties, we are expected to produce the following items under the supervision and monitoring of GNS staffers as well as our members of staff at the Directorate of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. The items are as below: shoe and sandal making. We are expected to produce sandals after going through this course and after going through the practical, which we are going to stage. We stage the practical in a not too distant future at the permanent site at the main campus. Usual venue is Large Lecture Theatre 2, overlooking Faculty of Law and the Faculty of Education. In between those two faculties, we have Large Lecture Theatre 2. That is where we always stage the practical session for shoe and sandal making as well as tie and dye. For those of us at Shagamu, it will be done at our Shagamu campus there. For those of us at Ayetoro, it will be done there. For those at Ibogun, electrical circuits production is what you will do, and it will be done under the supervision and monitoring of engineer Adetifa over there at the main campus here. My very good self, I've mentioned my name there at time. Abayomi Bada is my name, and in conjunction with Mr. Abiola Ajasa and the director of GNS in attendance too, Professor Fafioyi. All of us will be there with artisans, seasoned, accredited assistants of the Directorate of GNS that will take you through this, after which you are then expected to produce in groups of 5. 5 students to produce a pair of leather slippers, 5 students to produce textile, tie and dye, adire, of not more than 5 yards, okay, which will be submitted and graded as appropriate for the practical scores. Also, we expect that those that are Ayetoro 2 will be doing tie and dye, and then Mrs. Adelele is over there to handle that aspect for them in under the supervision of the coordinator GNS in the College of Agricultural Sciences, Ayetoro. All of these will look at the modalities as time goes on, and they feed you back as appropriate. I want to thank you for your attention this morning, and I wish to let you know that the best is what Olabisi Onabanjo University is doing in terms of giving you the opportunity to go through entrepreneurship training while in school, so that upon your graduation, you can have a vocation, to immediately work on, while others are still looking for a job. You have something doing. Even if you are going to get paid job, this becomes your second income generating vocation or job, so as to speak. So God bless you all, and enjoy the rest of the week. God bless you all. Thank you.